Hi, good morning, everybody. As I say, my name's Dan from DTS Solutions, and welcome to this final series or final webinar in our series of 5 webinars. This webinar today is going over in partnership with Motorola Solutions, their body-worn video range. I'm delighted to be joined by Scott Armstrong, who's the solutions architect and pre-sales engineer for Motorola Solutions body-worn video. Scott came across with the business from 86, worked with 86 for a few years, and absolutely delighted to have him on the call today because he's got a lot of experience of doing similar kind of training events and webinars. He's their go-to guy for that kind of thing. So delighted to have him on the call with us today. Just a couple of bits of admin before we get started. So everybody's lines other than myself and Scott are currently muted, but there is the ability for you to ask questions. So if you're watching this on a laptop, you'll see on the right-hand side of your screen, or on a PC, you'll see on the right-hand side of your screen the ability to type in some chat messages. What we'll do, any questions that get asked during the session, we'll take a note of them, and then at the end of the session, I'll put those questions to Scott, assuming they've not already been covered. Any that go into a lot of technical depth or that would take a lot of time to answer, or if we run out of time, any questions that are raised, we will come back to you directly and answer those as well. So that's fine. The session is being recorded today, so after this session is finished, you'll receive a link which will be live for 48 hours. So you've got the ability to send that on to some of your colleagues if any of them are of interest, or if any of this that's discussed today is of interest. That we will also be sending you another copy of all the webinars in this series following the conclusion of this series. So probably in the next week or two, you'll see a USB stick or an email with some links to download all the sessions and watch them to your heart's content. So just quickly to introduce DTS, I'm aware that people on the call today, many of you will have been involved in some of the earlier webinars that we've done, but just to introduce those who haven't been on any of the webinars and don't know DTS. So DTS, we're higher education two-way radio solution specialists. We work with 30 universities or over 30 universities, dozens of colleges across the UK. We're starting to work into Europe as well. We're also global sponsors and proud to be also global sponsors, which, as you all know, is the Association of University Chief Security Officers. We've been working with also for years and years and years now, and we're really delighted to be part of that community. And many of you I know on the webinar today will have come via the AUXO invitations and that kind of thing. So yeah, delighted to be part, as I say, of AUXO. We are Motorola Solutions Platinum certified partners, and we're certified for all levels on their two-way radio product. As we covered in the video last week, which was done in partnership with Vigilon, which is also obviously owned by Motorola, we are now starting to move into the realms of this converged video, data, voice, all of these solutions now coming together and integrated for the purposes of security, for safety, for coordination. And this is really why we are now starting to see things like the body-worn video come into the fold. Body-worn video has obviously been prevalent throughout the UK and overseas for a number of years now. But to bring that in as part of a portfolio that links into one central system is ultimately the way I believe that Motorola Solutions are. They are at the moment, but they're continuing to head that way. So DTS have approximately 30 staff based all across the UK. Our head office is just outside Cambridge in a little town called St Neots, and as you can see, we've got some regional offices there as well. We pride ourselves on our engineering capabilities, which is why we've been able to take on so many different ranges, and why we're able to offer integration into all kinds of different systems. About half of our staff are full-time dedicated engineers with a combined 221 years of communication experience. So with all that being said, I'm now going to hand over to Scott, who's going to do something a little bit different today than we've done in our previous webinar. Scott's not going to run through a slideshow or anything. He's actually going to go through the devices themselves, the software. So yeah, over to you, Scott. Hi, Scott. I think you might be muted.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Apologies, I've turned it on then off. I was just saying, yeah, so you can see my screen now, okay, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely perfect. Yeah, we can see what you're saying, yeah.
Excellent. So thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah, as Dan said, my name is Scott Armstrong. I'm one of the pre-sales engineers for Motorola on our body-worn video camera side. You'll notice you see an Adesix logo here and not a Motorola Solutions logo. That is coming shortly. Just to give you a very brief background, we were acquired by Motorola Solutions a year and a half ago. We are called Adesix Limited, based out of Edinburgh, Scotland. Design, develop, manufacture everything in the UK. Subsequently bought by Motorola, and we've been brought into the family and looking at working with more and more of their solutions. So in thinking futures, it will be integrations with the radio for panic buttons, etc., etc. But what I wanted to introduce for you today was, our body-worn camera solution. What I'm not going to do, as Dan said, is run through any slides. What I much prefer to do is actually run through the software itself and speak about it as I go. Hopefully a little bit more interactive for you. And please type any questions we have during the event into the chat, and we'll cover those off at the end. The other thing I just wanted to mention is that I'm not going to absolutely hammer home details on the camera, so I'll just pull up some spec sheets here very briefly. So there's two different cameras I'm going to talk about. One is our VT100. You can see it here. It's a good little hand for scale on it. And the VB400, which is our slightly larger camera. Just to give a reference to some of our customers, we work in a little bit of everything, but we do currently have a few universities who use our camera, mostly up here in Scotland. But we also have policing customers. We supply every single prison in the UK, to name some police. It's Police Service Northern Ireland, Police Scotland, Northumbria Police, a whole host of others, and a few different industries. But basically, what our prime focus is when it comes to a body-worn camera solution is taking video from camera to courtroom. It's evidential quality video that is indisputably ready for use when it comes to prosecution. Hopefully it doesn't have to go there. But we'll share any of the specs and information on the camera, but the high level is 1080p recording time. We can do 12 hours of continuous recording or 72 hours on standby. If some of you are familiar with body-worn cameras, we have pre-record functionality inbuilt into that for roughly 2 minutes. But again, the biggest benefit you'll get from having me on the call, you guys can all read spec sheets, is actually running through the software and showing you some of the functionality. So that's what I'm going to move to. So first thing I'll point out is that I'm using Google Chrome to access our software. So it's a web-based application, but you can see I'm running it on localhost. So I am running it on my laptop. It's running as a service on my laptop, but there's no client-side install. So if there's anyone on the IT side, there's no client-side install for accessing the application. It is just using Google Chrome. Then when you browse to login, you have a username and password, much like everything else, and this is going to define what you can do within the system based on your role. Once I've logged in, hopefully everyone can see that okay for scale. I can increase it if not, but I think it's probably okay. Each user would have a different experience when they log into the system, depending on what permissions you want them to have. So I'm logged in as Scott, who's an administrative user, so I have total access to the system. But each user can be given different roles, and I will show you the granularity of that. But if you want to have them tailored specific access, then we can achieve that very, very easily. So along the top, it's a tab-based system. Home is when you're a video capturing user, you get some of your recent videos and your recently edited incidents. Next tab, videos. This is our raw videos that are coming through the system. So this is just ones that are subject to our automatic deletion policy. I'm sure you all have CCTV systems, much like that, for data protection. These are our raw videos. These are automatically deleted after a set retention period that is up to you. 28 days or 29 days or 30 days is usually the standard within the UK. And then, so videos are our raw videos. Instants are our evidentially processed videos. So when you have a video that you need to retain, we create what we call an instant out of that. And I'm going to go through that process throughout this presentation. Devices is where we're going to be managing our devices from. You can see if I click find devices here, I just have one camera attached just now, and it's USB located. One of our strengths is actually, because this is a web-based application, is that we can do really, really sophisticated system architectures. And by that, I mean our ability to have a single system manage many locations. So if you have a campus where you might have 3 or 4 areas where you wish to have your users deploy from, so if they're in security, And then there's other functions that would you deem use of a body-worn camera. We could have them all managed in a single location. And so just to go over that very quickly. So the most basic architecture we can have is this, and apologies, my slides aren't that sophisticated. My pre-sales brain works better like this. It's marketing didn't make these slides for me. But the most basic system we can have, and what I'm using today, is a camera into one of our docking stations. It's a 14-slot docking station, USB connected directly to the machine running the video manager. This is not a scalable solution. This is basically a tabletop demo solution, and this is why I have it in the slides, because this is literally what I'm using in front of us today. But to introduce the next step in our building blocks is we have something called a dock controller. So we have docks, we have a dock controller, controls the docking stations. And what this is it's essentially a smart switch. So it knows where your web server is. So this could be hosted wherever on your network, a rack server down in the basement, on the cloud, whatever you want. Then this, when you plug a camera in, automatically downloads the footage over the network into the storage, and then it's available for review through the video manager. The dock controller can manage up to 6 docking stations, so it's got 6 USBs, 6 times 40, 84 cameras per location per single IP address. Again, if there's anyone in IT who's interested in that side. And then you can see we have an RFID reader attached. I'm going to be able to show you this throughout the demo as well. But in order to assign, or before you can ever use one of our cameras, it must be assigned to an operator. So this is all, as I mentioned before, camera to courtroom. It's all about the auditability of that footage. So before you capture any video, the camera must be assigned to a user. In order to do that on our system, we have an RFID reader. You swipe a card on the reader, you pick up the camera that starts flashing, and you go to work. So the user experience is swipe the card, pick up the flashing camera, go to work. And on the back end, that is doing all of the audit trail and chain of evidence for the camera as well as the video for you. So again, camera to courtroom just innately. Then I mentioned it's a scalable solution. So this could be any number of locations throughout the campus that are connected over the network to a single video management area, or I should say server. Then just to illustrate the point, we can access the video manager from anywhere on this network if you want to have that user have the privileges to do so. We can also have what we call a hybrid solution. So we can have a central management server and then an edge site. So this would be inherit all of its users and permissions from the central site. This is probably not necessarily on a university campus these days where you guys all have good high-speed networks. But in a world where you had a poor bandwidth connection here, for example, and you didn't want to commit to offloading all the video over the network, we can manage it such that the video remains here and then only committed incidents, so videos you have evidence processed, would sync to the center. Then each of our cameras, both the VT100 and the VB400, have Wi-Fi capabilities. So we can live stream the camera or we can offload the video over a Wi-Fi network. And definitely live streaming I can see being an interesting use within a campus, especially if you have an entire network that covers the whole campus location. You'd be able to live stream your footage back to the control room and use that to manage what is going on in the situation. Obviously, huge advantage to be able to see what's going on as well as hear what's going on. This is just offload video over the network. And we can also, if you have an internet-facing solution, so if this was accessible through the internet, you can stream over a 4G device as well. So there's no onboard 4G within the cameras. It's only connected to a Wi-Fi. But if you have a MiFi hotspot or a mobile phone hotspot, you can use that to live stream back to the video manager, assuming the networking is there for you. So hopefully that makes sense. I know I've moved through it quite quickly, but all I want you to understand from it is that very, very flexible in terms of system architectures and how you would design the solution in order to have one central management platform that makes it very easy. So if I go back to my video manager now, you can see that device location was USB. And so in this type scenario, we would name these 3 dock controllers the name of the offices, and I would be able to see where my cameras are on the campus. Then you can see we have a list of dock controllers here. Again, mine's a demo system, so this is my many, many demo pieces. But you can see I've named the device Scott, serial number. This would be your list of connected locations, and you can see whether or not they're online or offline from this screen. Status is where you go to get some quick information about the video manager. So system is, there's no systems warning at this time. So this is where you get your system warning. So if you are in charge of managing the system, this is a really quick and easy dashboard. Exports, it's when you, again, I'll come back to exports, but in order to have a video leave our video management system, it must be created as an incident and subsequently exported from the video manager. Again, all auditable, and that is so that we can show the chain of evidence of that video. So you can manage the exports from here if it's a large distributed site. The reports, we have many reports you can run through the system. I'll pull up the list in front of you. I'm not going to bore you with the content of all of those. But essentially, anything that you need to report can be generated through the video manager. These are all CSV reports, so they come out, so they can be used within Excel, and then they can obviously then subsequently be manipulated through the likes of Power BI if you want to generate any BI type information there. The one report that I will highlight, though, is the battery audit report. I don't know if any of you have experience with body-worn cameras, but I know you'll all have experience with mobile phones and anything else with a lithium polymer or lithium-ion battery. Battery is unfortunately the first thing to degrade. I mean, we're talking years, much like your mobile phone. After 2 years, you're maybe just not getting the same performance out of it. At Motorola, we cover the batteries under warranty. And what this battery audit report will do for you is show you when a battery has dropped below our expected thresholds. And then you can start to manage those for service returns, again, included under the warranty. We like people to be able to truly manage their battery. And if you have previous experience with any of our competitors, you'll also know that battery life is the king in the market, and we really do have an open and honest policy around that. So to move on from those reports can be generated automatically as well. So you can schedule these reports if it's someone external to the video manager that is viewing them. Sites, this would be where we have this hybrid model I mentioned, where we can have 2 pieces of storage. This would be our list of remote storage locations. Site uploads would be the video coming up there. I mentioned the audit log. I mean, every single click within the video manager is captured within the audit log. So you can see I search the audit log, I search the instance, I video instance search. Every single click within the video manager is captured within this audit log, and then they can be exported as well. And then this is the, if any of the IT assets are on the call, this is the at-a-glance health of the system from the IT standpoint. How many of the devices are online? If you see any red dot controllers, that means it's disconnected. Someone's probably unplugged it in order to plug in a kettle. It's a quick phone call to that site and they'll fix it for you. And then sites is the same thing. Bit of further information on footage, user activity, how many recordings are coming through, and the file space health. So an at-a-glance health of the system. And then we can import additional sources of digital media, which I'll cover again when we go through the evidence creation process. Then we have this screen called Tactical. You can see I'm based in Edinburgh. What this allows you to do is the VB400 series camera have a GPS location, or have a GPS chipset, I should say, and that enables you to see the GPS location. So if you are connected to a Wi-Fi network, and it's receiving GPS, you'd be able to see the live location of the camera on this map. And then again, I'm going to show you more of this when I've activated my camera. Unfortunately, I live in a 1800s building in Edinburgh, so I don't get any GPS location. I'm living in a sandstone like bomb shelter just about, so I don't get any GPS, so it won't show up on the map, unfortunately, but such is working from home. But I can show you the live stream from there, definitely. And then we reach admin. Again, I'm not going to bore you to death with all of this. Hopefully this is still more interesting than slides, but I will talk through some of the stuff that I think could be relevant to you. So the first thing is users and roles and groups. So each user within the video manager I mentioned is given a set of roles. So we'll just use my user Scott for this to show you. So the user has a username, password, not very exciting, touch sign ID. And then inherits some roles. So these roles control the permission that the user has, and then they have groups as well. And groups can be sets of roles. But just to show you the granularity of permissions within these roles within Video Manager, so if you have an idea in your head where you want a user, so let's say Scott is a security guard, and we want Scott to be able to log into Video Manager, watch back his video, but no one else is within the system. He can then create an incident out of that video, but not export it so that it can never leave the system. We can design a role that does that exactly to the T. So all the login permissions, I mean, video permission, you can see 117 unique permissions just regarding video, 135 regarding incidents, 100 to do with devices, user permissions. I'm sure you guys get the idea. It is anything you can imagine you want to be able to tailor access to within the video manager, you can achieve that. And then in order to manage the users, we can use Active Directory integration. So we've got a single sign-on with Active Directory. And if people use what is called Azure Active Directory, which is Microsoft's new cloud-based Active Directory, where I think everyone will be moving to, because that's what Microsoft have decided and we don't have a choice. So we have an integration with Microsoft Azure AD as well. So you can manage your users through your Active Directory, and the groups can inherit the information from your Active Directory as well. So groups, users, roles. Devices, one of the pieces of information. So when you go to use one of our cameras, again, I mentioned we've got the RFID swipe assign, but if I don't have it on swipe assign, I can manually assign this camera. I will show you both. But when I assign the camera to Scott, we pick up 3 pieces of information. The assign mode, and what this is, it's more to do with how you've chosen to deploy your cameras. So when it comes to picking how you're going to deploy a body-worn camera solution, one of the fundamental decisions, if you're going for pooled issue or personal issue, 10 security guards, personal issue, 10 cameras. Pooled issue, obviously 10 security guards, let's say 5 are only on shift at one time, then plus 1 or 2 for safety, we'd buy 7 cameras. I appreciate these numbers are not terribly realistic, but just to illustrate my point. But single issue would be camera is being used once, a single time. Permanent issue would be that camera now belongs to Scott. We put a Scott sticker on it. I pick up the same camera every single day. And then we have a hybrid of both, which is permanent allocation, where the user still needs to swipe their RFID card in order to allocate the camera, but they will be given the same camera every time. Because by default, RFID assignment, again, we advocate pooled use. So we don't think you should be using CapEx to buy every single person a camera if they're not always on shift. Our system is designed for a pooled use system using the RFID assignment, and single issue is what it gives you when you swipe the RFID reader. Then for the device profile, this is what do my buttons do and what lights and sounds am I making, and am I in HD? Am I pre-recording? So I'm going to go through the device profile. And then the Wi-Fi profile is a list of known networks. So if I assign that device, it will be ready for use now. So ready for use. But what I wanted to cover here, so why I jumped to that piece, was we have a device profile. I'll show you on the VB400 because the VT100 doesn't have any configurable buttons, but the VB400 has a very, very configurable set of information around it. Again, I'm not going to totally bore you with reading through every single line by line, but what you can do is we have LEDs on the camera that indicate it's recording. It beeps to when you start and stop it, or during it if you would like it to, and the camera also vibrates. So you get tactile feedback if you can't see the LEDs. And then we have the ability to have a thing called hush mode, which is disabling the lights and sounds of the camera. Again, it's more of a tactical firearms policing type operation, but I never know how, you guys can always educate me on how you use them as well. Pre-recording alarm and recording alarm, that's just if you want it to beep periodically while you're recording. Then we have the ability to put the camera into standby or shut down. It basically depends on how you would deploy the cameras to the users. If they're charging every night, standby mode. If it's living in a glove box of a car, then I would suggest shut down. But again, for your guys' use case, I'm thinking standby mode would be the correct way to go. We have this functionality called pre-record. So hopefully if you guys are familiar with the body-worn camera world, you'll already know what that is. But it's the idea that the camera is constantly recording, but not storing that video until you press the record button. And it will, before you press that record button, or well, when you press the record button, it will store this number of seconds before you pressed that button. This is obviously very useful in situations where there is something surprising has happened. There's a situation kicking off, but you've not had the opportunity to turn on your camera. If you can subsequently turn it on within that 30 seconds, you will have captured what happened. You can disable or enable audio during that pre-record. You can enable the GPS, and recording length is just the it will break up the videos into this many segments when you go to review the video. So pre-record is a very useful feature for a lot of our customers. Video settings, so resolution, full HD, frames per second. We have some Bluetooth devices that are, again, totally for our policing market, so I won't even mention them here. We do have a companion app where you can review video on your mobile phone. And then, as you can see here, we have a VB400 camera. It has a front button that most people use as their on-offs, and then A, B, C, and a slide. Then you can see each of these buttons can have a press, hold, or double-click function. When you're configuring this for the first time, maybe you think, why is there so many options? But the truth is, once you've picked what you want your users to see, you configure it as a one-time thing, and then you deliver your training that you press the front button to start recording, you hold it to stop, and you press that button to check your battery. They don't need to, your end users don't necessarily need to know how complex or how feature rich the camera truly is. And just to talk through some of the features, so I have one called record bookmark here, for example, but we have stop start recording, show battery status, very obvious with that. Record bookmark is a key feature for us, so I will actually do this when I do the video, take a experiment video for you. But we have the idea of bookmarking a video. What this does, it bookmarks a moment in the video, as well as recording the whole video file as a bookmarked video. This makes it a prioritized video. So when you dock that camera, the first video to come off is a bookmarked video. And then obviously for video review, then you can identify automatically what videos are bookmarked. So again, another fundamental decision you will make when you deploy a body-worn camera, if you've gone with Pull Juice personal issue, will be how do you review that video? So there's got to be a policy on that. But let's say I'm Scott capturing video on the day, and then I don't have a login to Video Manager. You don't want your end users logging into Video Manager. It's going to be a manager who reviews that video. A really nice way of having your users highlight that a video needs reviewed is to bookmark that video. So it would be my job as the manager at the end of the day to search the videos. We have a filter for search for only bookmarked videos. They watch those and they know they've covered off what is important. Hush mode disables the lights and sound. I mentioned we can live stream, so you can disconnect and or by a button press to the Wi-Fi. Start and stop pre-record, so you can have it either automatically start or you can configure it to a button press, as you've seen I did. I've got it out set to manual, so the alternative is just always. So it'll start the minute you're moved from the dock. And then I have some Bluetooth stuff connected as well. So very, very configurable camera in terms of what it can do. Then I'm not going to mention any of this other stuff here. It's not too exciting, except access control key management. We're really, really big on our encryption. Obviously, that comes to do with our evidential audit and everything that I mentioned previously. But just to go through the security of the solution, this is, again, not a beautiful slide. My marketing team would kill me if they knew if it wasn't pretty enough. But just to go through the encryption and security that we have within the system. Hopefully some of you ears will perk up at that mention. But AES 256 encryption at rest on the camera. So fundamentally, the footage is encrypted on the camera. If someone steals it, you lose it. No one is going to have access to your footage unless they have your access control key. So even when you send it back to us for repair, we can't see any videos that would be left on the camera. Then once you're done recording for the day, you're going to dock the camera. So once the camera docked, there's a paired encryption key exchange, and then the video is authenticated using something called an SHA hash. Essentially what that does is it just proves that we recorded the video on the camera. It's not been added onto the camera, in some kind of fraudulent way. We have a way to authenticate that the video truly was captured on the camera using what we call SHA hashes. Then once you've docked that camera, it's agreed, it's passed its encryption key and it's passed its authentication. We then download that video. So the DC200 is the box I mentioned, the dock controller. It never stores the video. It forwards the video file directly over a secure connection with Video Manager using SSL and TLS 1.2. This is effectively the same level of encryption as AES 256, and the underlying footage that is being encrypted in transit is also still that fundamentally encrypted footage. So actually kind of double layer encryption there. goes up to the video manager server where the footage is stored in AES 256 encryption. So it's actually disencrypted from the camera's encryption key to a storage encryption key. Then if you want to view that video back, any of the traffic for viewing the video is also subsequently encrypted with SSL and TLS. So if there's any security concerns, again, any questions, I'm more than happy to take them, but you can be totally comfortable in that our policing customers are happy with our level of encryption and security for them to take our cloud hosted solutions. So it's definitely a very, very secure thing. Connectivity I mentioned. I know you saw the Avigilon webinar. One thing we can do is output our video streams into different channels, and Avigilon is one of those things. So if you have a CCTV suite, we also have full integration with Milestone and Genetec as well. So you can push our live video streams into external applications using this on-stream interface. Mentioned Wi-Fi profiles. All this is, it's a list of known Wi-Fi networks. You just add them and it's going to be good to go. And then bandwidth rules I will mention as well. So each of these dot controllers within our system architecture can be given a specific bandwidth rule. Again, if anyone's on the IT side, they'll be pleased to hear that, where you can add a rule from Monday to Friday, from 9 to 5, limit the bandwidth to a given piece. So if they've a low bandwidth site and they don't want the videos offloading while there's office work going on, we can manage that. Other last piece I'll cover on the admin menu is the deletion policy. I mentioned we have a really complete deletion policy and it's a well thought out one. So I will speak through it because there's some implications that we've taken into consideration that you might not have crossed your mind. So data protection, this again, ticks the box for data protection GDPR for you as well. But there's an automatic deletion after 30 days after it's recorded. So obviously the time and date of a video is captured within the metadata of it. So after it's recorded, it'll be deleted after 30 days. Keep footage for 7 days after it's downloaded from the camera. An important caveat for if a camera goes missing for longer than this 30-day period, it's not going to automatically delete the footage. I mentioned that bookmarked footage is a nice way of highlighting it's a specific video you want to retain for a longer period of time. What we can do is once a video is bookmarked, it can have a slightly longer retention period built in there. Keep footage for 7 days after a deletion request. So if a user can delete video on the video manager, it's maintained within a recycling bin for this period of time. And 7 days after a video is removed from an incident. So an incident is our evidence processed video. So if you delete an incident that was created a year ago, it'll retain that video for 7 days and then automatically drop off the back of it. And then there's a couple of other nice pieces, and you can have an instant deletion policy. So if you had to keep your parking videos for 1 year, for example, you could have a classification of parking on a drop down, and it will delete that video for you after a year. So that was really what I wanted to cover on the admin side of the menu. You can see there's a whole host of other things that if you guys are interested, we can definitely cover off. But for the purpose of today, I'm not going to cover. One last thing will just be storage. Obviously, these drives can be mapped to wherever you want. And it is a web server, so you can get this so that it's available over your network. But what I would like to do now is capture a video, go through the evidence creation process, and then show you subsequently how you would share that video. Because obviously, if you're retaining a video, there's a reason you're retaining it. More often than not, you're going to want to share it with someone. So our normal process would be that you swipe your RFID reader and you pick up the flashing camera. Unfortunately, because of this demo today, I don't have enough USB slots on my laptop to have an RFID reader plugged in. But you can't see me either way. So swipe the card, pick up the flashing camera, or if you don't have the RFID system, you can go with manual assignment. When you RFID assign, it will pick up the default information from here. So I am going to use that profile. This is set to have some Bluetooth settings, so it's going to do some beeps that you guys wouldn't hear just when I disconnect it. There you go. So you wouldn't have those beeps. But this camera is now ready for use by user Scott. So that will be all they need to do. Once it's assigned to the operator, they can then go about their day and start doing some recordings. One of the features I've turned on is within my device profile. So I will pull it up just so it's a little bit interactive as well. One of the things that I've set on my device profile is on my slider, I have toggle Wi-Fi connection. So if I'm not live streaming because I'm not recording, but I am connected to the Wi-Fi, so that if we were in a situation that had we're using this tactical map, you'd be able to see the live location of the camera if I was getting GPS location. Again, unfortunately, I'm not, but you can see my cameras here, and it's connected to Wi-Fi. So I can either start that recording with a button press of my camera, which I will do now, and you can see the live stream. Again, you're not getting the most exciting view in the world. You can see my hands and my screens and my coffee. But you can either start the camera recording on the camera, so I can press and hold it, and it will stop the recording. Device not streaming. Or again, this is all permission driven. I can actually remote start that camera. So this could be really appealing, where you have, for example, some on our radios, if you have a man down or a panic button, you'd be able to then remotely start your user's camera recording, and then from the live stream, if you view that they're lying on their side, you can instantly know, okay, that's something that we have got to action. So you can start and stop the recording remotely from the video manager if the camera is connected to the Wi-Fi. I could have had this set up so that the video would automatically offload it over this Wi-Fi connection, but I've not enabled that within my Wi-Fi profile. So in order to review those videos, in fact, I'm going to go to my devices screen. In order to review those videos, all I need to do is dock the camera back into the docking station. So I've worn the camera for my 8-hour shift. End of the day, I plug it in, and I captured 2 videos there. But I didn't bookmark any. I will do another one where I've bookmarked the video. That's something I forgot to do. But you can see downloading automatically. So all you need to do, end of your shift, plug it into the docking station. I had that on single issue, so it's now unassigned and ready for use by the next user. And then simple as that. And then in order to review that video, because I'm logged in as Scott, and Scott took this video, I have a My Videos tab here, so I can see any videos captured by Scott. You can see the date, August 20th, and the time that are built into the video for the audit. But if I want to, then I can play that video back. You guys can hopefully, I don't know how well it's going to come across the live stream. I've got it, it's 1080p recording. Again, not the most exciting video, just of my hands and off my computer screens, but the information that's on screen here, this is all burnt in while on the camera. Again, ticks the boxes for our audit trail, where camera serial number, date, time zone, and a continuous frame count that climbs up throughout the video. Again, all for our camera to courtroom auditability of that footage. I'm just going to reassign the camera again and capture another short video. My cat has just appeared behind my laptop, so he's going to be the star of the day. So let me reassign that, because I forgot to bookmark anything, which I wanted to show you. Again, I'm getting that beeping that is a Bluetooth device, but if I start my recording, you get to see a nice little video of my weird cat. He's just sitting behind my laptop, so he's slightly more interesting than my screens. So I'm just going to stop that recording, plug the camera back into the docking station. It will do and I didn't actually highlight this, but when I plug it back into the docking station, you'll see it go from in use here to busy. What busy is it's an encryption key exchange that I mentioned, and then it's already downloaded that video. It was such a short one. But I will play it back so you can see his name is Egg, if anyone's wondering. He is actually a Sphinx, so he's a hairless cat. He's a really weird little guy. I'm sure you guys can send some comments about him. But he likes to sit behind my laptop where the vent fan is, and he's a good star for these at-home demos. He makes it a little bit more interesting. But what we've done now is I didn't even bookmark it because I forgot. I got excited by the cat. Well, I can just show you an old video I captured with a bookmark. So if I only include bookmarked videos, find videos, you can see I have an older video that this video has been bookmarked. So this is what it looks like when you bookmark a video. And then you can, if you play those videos back, your list of bookmarks is here. So you can jump to the moment that was bookmarked, or you can just know that the entire video has been bookmarked, and that has a custom retention period based on its whatever you set up within your deletion policy. But what is important now is this is our evidential video. We've now somehow, however we've worked it out, either I've captured the video and I know it's evidential, or I've highlighted to my manager that at 11:09 today, I had a video that I need you to retain as a piece of evidence. So we find the video, top right-hand corner, we have video actions. We can create a new incident, add videos to an existing incident, delete the video or rotate the video. Again, all permission driven as to what they can do. but create a new incident out of this video. Then this form here is completely customizable. We can create custom drop downs. We can create any signature fields, absolutely anything you can imagine. You can just make that form meet. So if you have a pre-existing incident form you want it to mirror, we can do that. And then we can do two actions here to the video. So edit the start and end time. So quite often in these situations, you'll find that people forget to turn off the camera, because especially if it's a high stress situation, you turn it on and then you leave it on for 25 minutes afterwards because you're in the zone. So you can start the start and end time of a video. So I will do that. I'll just trim it down slightly so you can see it's only now an 8-second video, gone down from 17. Again, using these little demo videos, it's not the best thing in the world, but you get the idea. And then we got a little cat looking angry at us. But what this is, it's a redaction suite. So if Egg doesn't want to be within the video, we can blur him out. Or we can do the same where we blur the background and we use him as our victim to highlight. We can take screenshots within this player as well. If you want to extract any still images, we can also add text. You can mute the video and you can zoom in on certain areas throughout the period of the video too. If there's something that tracks across the video as well, I'm not going to do this perfectly, but you can imagine, you can see I've just dragged that 4 times. But if I click and drag back through the video, it takes a smooth path between where I've dragged it. So again, not the perfect video for this demonstration, but I'm sure you guys all get the idea. So we have a built-in redaction suite, and you can also darken or lighten the video. Every single action I've taken here is captured within our audit log, and it's never editing the underlying clip. So our underlying clip is still totally unmolested, and the evidential video you are creating is metadata on top of a new video file. So if I create that incident, that is now preserved indefinitely outside of our automatic deletion policy and is now ready for use for the reason you've retained it. Let's say you're sharing it with police, for example. Then once it's an incident, it's preserved forever. You put in all the information that's required. The next step you're going to do with that is you're going to share that incident. The way you share an incident, it would depend on how you've deployed the system, but there's 3 main ways of sharing the video. We have up here what we call a traditional evidential export. So export the incident, MP4 file, burnable DVD, or what we call an evidence export. And you can include the original footage here. So this would be a pack with your hour-long contextual video, your 5-minute redacted true story of the video that wants to be your exhibit in court. And then you can include the metadata there as well. So this would be if you're sharing it with police. But this would obviously require some physical media, an MP4, USB drive, or something to the same effect. The alternative to that, if you're obviously taking advantage of the fact it's a web-based system, if you have an externally facing web server, again, we can talk IT if you get interested in this, you can then share the video 2 subsequent ways. Obviously, the easiest way would be one of these links. When you generate a link, we have 2 options. An incident link, which shares the information you've put in here that you have deemed to be public. So each of these fields has a permission level, so you can choose which fields you want to share. But more often than not, if you're sharing it with police, you'd want them to share, you'd want to share your notes on the video with them anyway. Choose a recipient's email. We'll use s@s.com, random email. You set an expiry date. So again, if you're familiar with sharing video evidence, you burn a DVD, you hand it off, it goes missing in the mail, you have to burn another one. What happened to that original one? And the cost of the time of burning the DVD, the time of dropping off the DVD, all of that stuff can be removed by just creating an evidential link, expiry date, so provisioned only as long as you want it to be. Then show a copy of this link. This is what it looks like. We would send this to the user or whoever it is. They're going to browse to it, and they just have much the same interface. The information you've shared as public. So you can see I have a couple additional fields that aren't shared. So a few shorter. Then they can play the video back. They just have the redacted video. They can watch it. That's all they can do. And what's really, really nice about that is that I've got a button up here, View Incident Audit Trail. And if I filter the audit log, mentioned absolutely everything is captured within this audit log. So you see I created the incident, I added it, I viewed the incident, but we can see s.com, who we shared the video with, was given a link, they viewed the incident, and they played the footage from this location at this time and date. So again, when it comes to sharing evidence, you have undisputable proof that you generated that evidence on time, you shared it on time, and it has been reviewed multiple times by the end user. Especially when we're talking to our policing clients, this just changes everything for them, where it removes any dispute. And then the other link I could have created was a custom link, and this is just much the same player they would get, but it's just more like an email that says, this is that video of you getting issued your parking ticket, please pay it, whatever it's going to be. And this other way of sharing would be actually what we have a few customers who use this, is where they create an external user to their video manager and you share it with that user. So let's say I have wanted to share it with Dave Jablonski, but this could be an external user to your system on a custom role. So a good example of this is Police Service of Northern Ireland. One of our customers has been for about 5 years. They share all of their video within the UK, obviously. We share it with the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service. What they've done is created a user to their video manager for the Crown Prosecution Service. So their process is, rather than generating anything that goes external to their organization or creating a link that could be forwarded on, because that's obviously a caveat of these links, is that they must log in with a username and password. They've enabled two-factor authentication, so they have to have the Google Authenticator as well. And then they can log in, and then when they access the video manager, all they have is this incidents menu, and all they can see is the incidents that are shared with that user specifically. And then PSNI know when they're accessing those videos, when they're reviewing those videos, and that it was all done on time. So obviously, just your digital evidence that you start to generate becomes even more auditable and easier to share. The last thing that I didn't mention was we also have what we call a DEMS or a DAMS ability within the video manager. So a DEMS and a DAMS, a digital evidence management system or a digital asset management system. Essentially, any video file, any image file, any PDF file, you can upload to the video manager, and that would then become an asset. So if I click and drag here, I've got this video file, I want to upload that file. If I now go to my videos tab, because it's still, we still think in video, date added, we can see that on May 27, 2018, so it reads the metadata of any video or any file that you upload, true for PDFs and everything. That becomes an asset within our video manager. So you can imagine if you're taking still images or anything else, you can add that to an existing incident. So we have our incident here, or this could be a PDF. I have another video at the same time, add that video. You can add, so that was our incident. You can add any additional sources of digital media you want. So this becomes a evidence management system where you're running all of your reporting through this, and same as for PDFs. And then you can preview those much the same, or you can just preview that file within Video Manager. So hopefully that is basically everything I wanted to cover off. I've run on maybe 5 minutes more than I was supposed to for the presentation side, but hopefully that was of value. So a real rundown of everything that the Video Manager does, and the real use case of capture a video, review that video, create it as an evidential package, and then subsequently share that video. And so, Dan, I think that was everything I wanted to cover off, and I'm hoping we have a couple of questions.
Hi, Scott. Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, we do. Just to sort of, I guess, say we actually did have a couple of the comments saying this is the best webinar they've been on since the start of lockdown. So yeah, well
Excellent.
done.
Well, thank you very much for whoever said that. Yeah, I don't like sitting through death by PowerPoint, so I don't subject people to it. I've tried to move away from it as much as I could.
No, it was absolutely perfect, and I think that's going to be really useful, as I say, for when we send this link out to the wider community as well. People are not going to be interested in sitting through PowerPoint after PowerPoint, and this one, yep. Hands-on. That's the way forward. So yes, we do have a good few questions actually. So the first one was the GPS of the camera, and I think I know why this person has asked this, because they bought radios without GPS on them. Can the GPS of the camera be exported into other pieces of software? And have you had the experience of doing this? So that, I think they've got like a command and control system, and they're wanting to get the data into the command and control system.
Yes, basically. So everything that is within our video manager can be accessed through our API. We do have an API. the caveat would be we'd have to know exactly what program it was and exactly how they need the information presented. So we'd have to do some more exploration on it, but absolutely. And as part of the Motorola family now, it's something that we're looking at as well. If the radio manager, for example, has a mapping function, then we want to push to the, exactly as you said, if you've got a non-GPS radio, we want to push that information back through. So the answer is yes, it can be made to happen. Whether or not it's done for your specific software yet is something we'd have to explore.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. I think, as I say, I think I know the reason behind that question anyway, and that'll, I'm going to cheekily say that'll teach them for not buying radios with GPS, but there we go. So the next one is, and again, I think you may have covered it in groups anyway, but just to cover it for the sake of it, can you design templates for roles so you don't have to set each different user up with their own individual templates? So you've got like
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'll just cover. I maybe skipped over it quite quickly. So each user within the system can be assigned to either groups or roles. So I didn't really mention groups. So what we can do with a group is allocate a number of roles to a group of users. So let's so the way we really, there's a million ways you could do it, but the best way of doing it really is roles are used to define functions within the video manager. So a good example here is device operator for me. I have a device operator who has no permissions to log into the system. His only permissions are device-based permissions where he can operate a device, and that is it. And he can assign himself a camera. But obviously, if we want him to then, that user to subsequently be able to log into the system and review his own footage, so I have a system user who can view their own footage and footage that's shared with them, I could create a group for that user, and I could call that guards, and then give him device operator and system user and save that and add any number of users into that group. So hopefully that answers the question. So yeah, the roles are the templates for the permissions, and then you can create groups which are numbers, any number of roles, and you can add any number of users to those groups. And you can actually have nested groups as well. So if you wanted a group within a group, you can do that too. So it's really flexible. Again, it's basically a job of looking at how you want to deploy the video manager, and then we can help you, with the most sensible system or most sensible settings for the system.
Yeah, that totally answers it. That's brilliant. That's perfect. So I think just a bit more of a general advice from one person on the call here. Just generally asking for advice on, is it really feasible on a standard kind of Wi-Fi network that you find in somewhere like a university to expect the Wi-Fi network to live stream video, or is it just a bit more of a feature for something that's maybe what better Wi-Fi networks in future? So I think it's just asking a bit of your advice and what your opinion.
So I can give you a rough bandwidth for the live stream is 300 kilobits. So it's a much lower resolution live stream. So while it's recording locally on the camera, it's 30 FPS, 1080p. But the live stream it's pushing out is only standard detail at 15 frames per second. So it's actually, you'd be surprised at how well it can work over just a normal Wi-Fi. So it's only about, a third of a meg. So really that's quite low bandwidth. So I would say it can be used on a like campus-wide Wi-Fi. You might not get the absolute perfect video, but in terms of if you just wanted to be able to have it as a kind of situational thing, where if I start my camera recording and you can see where I am, say you didn't have GPS turned on, for example, you'd be able to see where the user is. So as long as you get kind of that, outline, then yeah. It would be one to test, but as long as they have 300-ish kilobytes available on their bandwidth, then I would say it would work quite well, because it's designed to be a low bandwidth stream.
No, that makes a lot more sense, because as I say, I just start thinking about 1080p video and everything and trying to stream that over a Wi-Fi network that you see in most establishments, universities, whatever it might be. It's not really all that feasible. So yeah, no, that's fine. I think we briefly saw it, but they're just looking at how you set up how you would set up the Wi-Fi networks on the device, so setting up multiple networks.
So the Wi-Fi profile, so when you assign the camera, it picked up the device profile was what do my buttons do, and the Wi-Fi profile is, just the Wi-Fi profile. And so the Wi-Fi profile is a list of its known networks. So it can't connect to a new network on the fly. So let's say, what one have I got a bunch on? My demo one. This is my list of networks that I kind of travel with. So I have a little D-Link router, so that's just my D-Link network. Welcome to Scotland was one of my ones when I was doing demos abroad. And that's my mobile phone hotspot. So yeah, just a list of known Wi-Fi networks, and then the camera is clever enough to connect to the one that has the best connection, essentially. And then if you do have a network that is, which is probably quite likely a mesh network within a university where it's one SSID, so one name for the access points, but lots and lots of access points, we can have that disconnect on low signal as well. So signal level, if it goes 40%, it'll look for a new access point. So yeah, list of known networks, and then if you have a mesh network, we have services that enable it to more quickly jump between the access points if you're walking around a campus, for example.
When it's moving, let's say, for example, between Wi-Fi networks, and you're doing, let's say, for example, a live stream, I would imagine, I'm guessing here, but would you expect a break in that live stream?
Yeah, but we're talking less than 5 seconds.
Right. Okay. No, that's fine. I mean, I think, to be honest, that for the most part, from what you've described anyway, people are going to be probably uploading the high quality footage and only really using the Wi-Fi, particularly in a university, just as you say, for getting the situation.
Yeah, exactly right. Your evidential video is being recorded locally to the camera, and we advocate that the live stream is for a situational awareness type use, where you just dial in, view it, and get the information you need from that quick screenshot almost. You could do it from a screen capture just about.
Okay, yeah, no, that's perfect. So the next one is coming from somebody within an estates department. I think this is really with regards to cleaners. So I think previously, just to give you an idea, knowing a bit about the history, they've previously looked at the BT50 as something. So they're asking, do you need to legally display that you are recording something to the people you're recording? If so, how do you do this? And again, that's the VT50 they were looking at, I know, but on the other hand as well.
No, I've got some good advice on this. So yeah, there's obviously, when you have a CCTV system, that needs to be registered. If you want to set up a new outside CCTV system, you have to register that with the ICO. Body-worn cameras are not under CCTV law when it comes to that. They're viewed much more closely in terms of legislation to a mobile phone recording. So, the same way anyone can pull out their mobile phone and start recording you if they're upset or annoyed or anything like that, body-worn cameras is seen as more in that realm. So in terms of signage, there's actually no requirement to display any signage, but what we would recommend is that you display signage. One of the most effective things, and there's studies on this, I've heard it a million times anecdotally from my customers, but in terms of what the body-worn camera does for you, it just de-escalates the situation. So more awareness that you're using them and they're available and they're there, the better de-escalation it does. And we design that with our cameras. A lot of them have an area on the front, so this, you can put a audio and video warning, and I believe the VT100, you can see it on there. Yeah, video and audio. So we always advocate that you have something that says this is going to record you, but legally there's no obligation to do so under UK law at present. It's for you differently to CCTV because you're not filming one static location, you're moving around. So it's seen as kind of a fair use thing.
Okay, no, that's perfect. I mean, it's always good to know, because coming in from an outside perspective with regards to video and that kind of thing, there is a lot of it where you just don't kind of know what licenses people need and everything.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So yeah, they don't, to review body-worn camera footage. Yeah, you don't need any of the CCTV review footage type courses that people do. Again, I don't know the name of them off the top of my head, but yeah, none of that is required.
No, that's fine. Okay, we'll do a couple more questions, because I think there's a few on there, for example, that are just like, about accessories, which I can cover off separately.
Sure thing.
The person that's asked whether you can only have a 14-way dock. I think for the VB400, there is a single way. It's worth having a look on our website, because as Scott's kind of said, he's not gone through all of the different brochures and that kind of information or everything. So if you go onto our website and look under body cams, everything that you can get for the VB400, the BT100, and that kind of thing, it's all on there anyway. There's brochures to download, lots of other guns as well. So
yeah, and yeah, you were right. So there's a solo dock or a 14-slot dock, and then if you go with the VT100, there's a in-between 7-slot dock as well. And just on accessories for wearing the cameras, I would say We have a whole host of them, but we have ClickFast. So hopefully ClickFast, that's like almost a standard in the UK for radios. So if you've got a ClickFast point, we've got ClickFast's male side for the camera.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So yeah, we'll do a couple more and then.
Yep, no problem.
So and I guess this is related to the VB400 because I think that's what they've put. Can you just use a micro USB from the camera to a laptop to download the video to the software?
So it's not a micro USB, but you'd have to have one of our solo docks because the connector on the bottom, I don't know if I have a picture of the bottom of one of our, I don't know if it was on any of these, but the VB400 it's like recessed pin connectors, they're called. I think there might be a picture here. Yeah, so it's got these like 5 little pins that push up into the camera. So it's a really, really good IP rated connector. So it has to be a solo dock, but yes, you can manage cameras directly over USB if you're running the video manager on the laptop. But it's pretty limited. So this was where I talked about this a little bit on the network architecture slides. So you can do it. This is what it would look like, but there's a limit on Windows to how many USB devices the computer can manage, and that's going to be one of your biggest limiting factors. You couldn't run a 14-slot dock. I think that you can effectively, if you've got a mouse and a keyboard and a USB dongle plugged in, you can manage anything up to about 5 cameras would work with that. But what I would suggest then, if they are thinking about that, not looking at a network, you can still use this as a tabletop. So you can still use the connection of a DC200 directly into a laptop running the video manager. And what that does, it takes it away from being a USB interface device to being a network interface device. So you lose takes it away from being limited by Windows. Yes.
No, that's perfect. No, that's brilliant. And then the last one we'll do. How old is your cat?
How old is he? He's 2.
Okay. Fantastic. Yeah, there was a couple of questions about the cat. So
yeah, he's become a star now that I'm doing all these webinars. I love to use him as a demo video because it's more fun than a desk or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's fine. In fact, I will just cover one more because I've seen there's another one popped up in the chat. So what happens for accidental activations? So this user has seen issues on their existing body-worn cameras where they've been activated, I should say, by accident, e.g. when using the toilet in a hurry. So what's the best way of preventing that?
Well, I would say to reduce the likelihood of accidental activations, take advantage of the configurability of the buttons, maybe remove the single button press and only have the start recording function be hold or a double click to reduce the likelihood of an accidental activation. But what I would say is that if that accidental activation does happen and they are conscious of it, again, it would come down to your video review policy. So either get them assurance that that video is not going to be watched unless it's been bookmarked, for example, or however they want to highlight that the video needs reviewed. And then what we do have as well is functionality within the video manager that if this was a video that you can either get an administrator to delete it, or if you've got no deletion permissions, we have the ability under sharing to restrict this video. And that if I confirm that video is restricted. And that's mostly to do with if there's a video you captured, you don't want to delete because you want to maintain it within your audit trail and not delete videos, but you can restrict it so that only the highest level of admin can play that video.
Okay, no, that's perfect. And then I keep coming back to it, but there was one that I missed in the middle. What is the pre-record time on the cameras? So
it can be between 5 seconds and 2 minutes, so a maximum of 2 minutes.
So plenty enough. If you've forgotten to press your camera after 2 minutes, you probably totally missed the instant anyway, to be fair.
Yeah, that's it. 2 minutes is kind of that sweet spot.
No, that's perfect. Well, I think, as I say, there's nothing really else to add to that other than a few accessory questions, which is fine. I'll cover them separate. So thank you ever so much, Scott. That's been absolutely amazing webinar. And thoroughly learned a lot from that. And it looks from all the questions and the comments and everything that other people did too. So thank you very much. Just a quick word to everybody that if you are interested in what you've heard about today, you want to know a little bit more, get in touch with me. We have demo units, so we're more than happy to lend you a couple of demo units, try before you buy kind of thing. Or if you want to go through any sort of tests or any other a bit more in-depth, things than this even, then, any more questions we can answer that way. But yeah, thank you again, Scott. And I'll
no problem. I was just going to play just for his fans, just one more little video of him having a little bathe in the sun.
Very nice. No, that's perfect. Well, thank you very much, Scott, and thank you everybody for joining us, and stay safe.
Yep.